blood mixed with snow on the cracked pavement. A woman stumbled forward, one hand pressed against her ribs, the other clutching a flash drive that could destroy empires. Behind her, footsteps echoed, closer, faster. She'd been running for 3 days. Tonight, her legs finally gave out. This is the story of Lena Voss, a woman who chose death over one more night of controlled breathing. And Adrian Cade, the man who found her bleeding in an alley and decided some fights are worth inheriting. If you want to see how far a story can travel when it's built on broken bones and second chances, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far this one goes. The alley smelled like rust and rotting garbage. Lena Voss pressed her back against the brick wall, her breath coming in short, painful gasps. Every inhale felt like broken glass scraping her lungs. The cut along her ribs wasn't deep enough to kill her quickly, but it was enough to leave a trail. She'd made it 4 blocks from the townhouse. 4 blocks in 3 minutes, barefoot, wearing nothing but a torn nightgown and a coat she'd grabbed on her way out. The flash drive was tucked into her bra, warm against her skin. Evidence. Names. Transactions. Locations. Everything Marcus had been stupid enough to keep on his personal computer because he thought she was too scared to ever look. He was right. For years, he was right. The footsteps stopped somewhere behind her. 2 sets, maybe 3. She couldn't tell anymore. Her vision was blurring at the edges, dark spots creeping in like ink stains. Lena, Marcus's voice. Calm, almost gentle. The same tone he used when he wanted her to think she still had choices. Come back inside, you're hurt, you need help. She didn't answer, couldn't. Her throat was too tight, her whole body shaking from cold and shock and 6 years of swallowed screams finally clawing their way up. You know I can't let you leave like this, he continued, closer now. Not after what you've taken. That's mine, Lena. You understand that, right? Everything in that house is mine, including you. She pushed off the wall and ran. Stupid, reckless. Her legs weren't working right, her feet were numb, and the world tilted sideways with every step. But staying meant going back, and going back meant disappearing. Not dying, Marcus was too careful for that. Disappearing meant a hospital on the other side of the country, a new name, a medical record full of psychotic breaks and self-inflicted wounds. It meant her sister Emma visiting once a month with supervised guards, believing every word Marcus said about Lena's fragile mental state. It meant living the rest of her life in a room with soft walls and no door handles. Her foot caught on something, a bottle, a crack in the pavement, and she went down hard. Her palms skidded across asphalt, skin tearing, and the impact knocked what little air she had left out of her chest. She tried to push herself up, but her arms weren't listening anymore. Footsteps. Right behind her now. This is embarrassing for both of us, Marcus said. He crouched down beside her, one hand resting on her shoulder like they were lovers having a quiet moment. You're making me look incompetent, sweetheart. People are starting to ask questions. She turned her head just enough to see his face. Handsome. That's what everyone always said. Handsome and successful, and so patient with his troubled fiancée. He smiled at her now, the same smile he'd used when he proposed, when he introduced her to his colleagues, when he pressed his thumb into the bruise on her collarbone and asked if she'd learned her lesson yet. Give me the drive, he said quietly. No. It came out as a whisper, barely audible, but his expression shifted. The smile stayed in place, but his eyes went flat. Lena, I said no. His hand moved from her shoulder to her throat, not squeezing, not yet, just resting there, a reminder of how easy it would be. You're going to make me hurt you, he said. I don't want to. You know that, right? I never want to. But you keep. The gunshot cracked through the air like a whip. Marcus jerked backward, his hand flying away from her neck. For a second, Lena thought he'd been hit, but he was still standing, his head whipping around to locate the source of the sound. Walk away. The voice came from the far end of the alley, deep, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to shout to be heard. Lena forced her head up. Through the haze of pain and exhaustion, she saw a figure standing in the mouth of the alley. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a long black coat that didn't quite hide the gun in his hand. Marcus straightened, his posture shifting into something smoother, more polished. This is a private matter. I don't care. She's my fiancée. She's having an episode. I'm trying to get her home safely. She doesn't look like she wants to go home. Marcus's jaw tightened. I don't know who you think you are. Adrian Cade. The name dropped into the space between them like a stone into still water. Even through the fog in her head, Lena saw the way Marcus's expression changed. Recognition. And under it, fear. She'd heard that name before. Everyone in the city had. Adrian Cade didn't run a criminal empire. He was the empire. Drugs, weapons, information. If it moved through the city's underworld, it moved through him. The kind of man who appeared in whispered conversations and newspaper articles that never quite got published. The kind of man Marcus should have been smart enough to avoid. Mr. Cade, Marcus said, his tone shifting into something conciliatory. I apologize. I didn't realize this is just a misunderstanding, a domestic situation. I'm sure you understand. I understand you're still standing in my alley. Your alley. Everything in a 3-block radius is my alley. Adrian took a step forward, and despite the gun, despite the cold, despite everything, his movements were unhurried, casual, like he was taking a walk, not interrupting an assault. And you're bleeding on my property. For a moment, no one moved. Then Marcus's hand dipped toward his jacket. Adrian's gun came up in a single fluid motion. Don't. Marcus froze. Turn around, Adrian said. Walk back the way you came. Forget you saw her tonight. She has something that belongs to me. Not anymore. The air felt too thin. Lena's chest was burning, her vision tunneling, but she couldn't look away from the two men facing each other like wolves sizing up territory. Marcus's fingers flexed. You're making a mistake. Probably. Adrian's tone didn't change. But I make a lot of those. Now move or I'll put the next round somewhere less polite than the ground. For a long moment, Marcus didn't move. Then slowly he straightened, smoothed down his jacket, looked at Lena with an expression that promised this wasn't over. I'll be back for what's mine, he said quietly. Then he turned and walked away. Lena waited until his footsteps faded into silence. Then her body gave up. She felt herself tipping sideways, the pavement rushing up to meet her, and distantly thought that this was a stupid way to die after everything she'd survived. But she didn't hit the ground. Strong hands caught her, easing her down with a gentleness that didn't match the gun, or the voice, or the reputation. She tried to focus on the face above her, sharp features, dark eyes, a scar cutting through one eyebrow, but the edges kept blurring. Stay with me, Adrian said. She wanted to laugh. She'd been trying to stay with herself for 6 years. It hadn't worked yet. Can you walk? She shook her head, tried to speak, but her throat wouldn't cooperate. Adrian muttered something under his breath. Then in one smooth motion, he slid one arm under her knees and the other around her back and lifted her like she weighed nothing. Hospital? He asked. She managed to force out a single word. No. You're bleeding. No hospital. He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded once. Okay. Hold on. She didn't have a choice. Her hands clutched at his coat, fingers digging into the fabric as he carried her out of the alley and into the frozen night. The car was warm. That was the first thing Lena registered when she woke up. Warmth. Not the suffocating heat of Marcus's townhouse, always kept at exactly 72 degrees because he liked control even over the thermostat. This was different. Softer. The kind of warmth that came from a seat heater and a coat draped over her shoulders. She opened her eyes slowly. Leather seats, tinted windows, the faint smell of expensive cologne and gun oil. Outside, the city slid past in streaks of neon and shadow. You back? She turned her head. Adrian was driving, one hand on the wheel, his attention split between her and the road. Up close, without the adrenaline and the pain clouding everything, she could see him more clearly. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair, longer on top, pushed back from a face that looked like it had forgotten how to smile a long time ago. The scar through his eyebrow was old, silvered at the edges. Where? Her voice cracked. She tried again. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got right now. He glanced at her again, quick and assessing. You need a doctor. No. You're still bleeding. I don't care. His jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. just reached into the center console and pulled out a bottle of water, twisting the cap off one-handed before passing it to her. She took it, her hand shaking so badly she almost dropped it. The first sip tasted like metal, her mouth still full of blood and fear, but she forced herself to swallow. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't." "What?" "Don't thank me yet. You don't know what you're getting into." She almost laughed. "I think I've already gotten into it." He didn't respond to that. Just kept driving, taking turns that seemed random, until Lena realized they were doubling back, checking for tails, making sure no one was following. Professional. Careful. Exactly the kind of paranoia that kept people like Adrian Cade alive. "The drive," he said after a while. "What's on it?" Her hand moved instinctively to her chest, feeling the small rectangle still tucked against her skin. Why? Because whatever it is, it was worth running barefoot through a February night, worth getting stabbed over, worth telling a man with a gun that you'd rather bleed out than go to a hospital. He looked at her again, and this time his eyes were colder. "So either it's nothing, and you're delusional, or it's something, and you just dragged me into your mess. I didn't ask you to help me." "No, you didn't." He turned down another street, this one darker, lined with warehouses and empty lots. "But I did anyway, so now we're both in it. Might as well know what it is." Lena closed her eyes. Every instinct she'd honed over 6 years screamed at her to lie, to deflect, to keep her secrets buried where they couldn't be used against her. But those instincts were also the ones that had kept her trapped, kept her silent, kept her his. She opened her eyes. "Names," she said. "Financial records. Shipping manifests. Communications. Everything Marcus thought I was too stupid or too scared to find." She paused, her throat tightening. "He runs a trafficking network. Girls, mostly. Some as young as 14. He moves them through shell companies, fake modeling agencies, arranged marriages, sells them to buyers overseas or keeps them in rotation here. Makes millions doing it." Adrian's expression didn't change, but his knuckles went white on the steering wheel. "How long?" he asked. "I've known for 8 months. He's been doing it for at least 5 years. Maybe longer." "And you stayed?" It wasn't a question, not quite, but the judgment was there, buried under the careful neutrality. "He has my sister," Lena said flatly. "Emma. She's 17. Lives with him in the townhouse because our parents died 3 years ago, and I'm her legal guardian. Or I was, until Marcus convinced me to sign over temporary custody for stability." Her laugh came out bitter and sharp. "He told me if I ever left, if I ever tried to take her, he'd make sure she ended up in the pipeline. Just another girl who disappeared. And I believed him." The car slowed. Adrian pulled into an underground garage, the gate rolling shut behind them with a heavy clang that echoed off concrete walls. He put the car in park but didn't turn off the engine. Just sat there, staring straight ahead. "Your sister," he said finally. "Where is she now?" "Still at the house. He sent her to a friend's place for the weekend, told her I was having a breakdown and needed space. She doesn't know I left, doesn't know about any of this. So when he figures out you're not coming back, he'll use her as leverage." "Yeah." Lena's hands curled into fists, her nails digging into her palms. "That's why I need the drive to work. That's why I need to get everything to someone who can actually do something with it. Police, FBI, journalists, I don't care. I just need it out there before he touches her." Adrian turned to look at her, really look at her, and for the first time since he'd pulled her out of that alley, his expression softened just slightly. "You're not going to the police," he said. "What?" "You go to the cops with this. One of two things happens. Either they're clean and they take the evidence and start an investigation that'll last months while Marcus lawyers up and moves assets and makes your sister disappear. Or they're dirty and Marcus owns them, and you've just told him exactly what you have and where you are. Then what am I supposed to do?" The question came out raw, desperate. "Just sit here and hope he forgets about me?" "No." Adrian killed the engine, the sudden silence almost deafening. "You sit here and let me figure out how to burn his entire operation to the ground without getting both of you killed in the process." She stared at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because I don't like men who hurt women, and I really don't like men who sell children." He opened his door, cold air rushing in. "Come on." Let's get you cleaned up before you pass out again. The apartment was not what Lena expected. She'd braced herself for something dark and industrial, all concrete and steel and places to hide bodies. Instead, Adrian led her into a space that was almost normal. Hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, leather furniture that looked comfortable instead of just expensive, a kitchen that actually appeared to be used, dishes in the sink, a coffee maker still half full from that morning. "Bathroom's down the hall," Adrian said, shrugging off his coat. "There's a first aid kit under the sink. Clean towels in the closet. Take whatever you need." Lena didn't move. She stood in the middle of the living room, dripping melted snow onto his floor, her entire body vibrating with exhaustion and adrenaline and the creeping realization that she'd just traded one dangerous man for another. Adrian noticed. "I'm not him." "You don't know what he is." "Yes, I do. I've met 100 Marcus Vosses in my life. Different faces, same playbook, and I'm telling you right now, I'm not him." He moved past her toward the kitchen, his movements careful, like he was trying not to spook a cornered animal. "You can leave whenever you want. Door's not locked. I'm not going to stop you, but if you go out there alone, with that drive and no plan, you're dead by morning. So maybe take a shower, let me patch up that cut, and we'll figure out next steps when you're not hypothermic." He said it so matter-of-factly, like offering sanctuary to bleeding strangers was just something he did on Friday nights. Lena's legs decided for her. They gave out, and she sank onto the couch before she could stop herself. Adrian filled a glass with water and brought it over, setting it on the coffee table within reach. Then he disappeared down the hall. She heard drawers opening, running water, the quiet efficiency of someone who'd done this before. When he came back, he was carrying the first aid kit, a stack of clean clothes, and what looked like an actual medical suture kit still in its sterile packaging. "You know how to use that?" Lena asked, nodding at the sutures. "Unfortunately." He set everything down on the coffee table, then took a seat in the chair across from her. Not beside her, giving her space. "The cut on your ribs," he said. "How deep?" "I don't know, maybe 2 inches?" "Can I see?" Every muscle in her body locked up. Marcus had used those exact words. "Can I see?" Right before he decided her apology wasn't good enough, right before he proved that even her body wasn't really hers. Adrian must have seen it in her face because he immediately held up his hands. "Or don't. You can handle it yourself. I just thought—" He stopped, started again. "I've seen a lot of knife wounds. I know which ones need hospitals and which ones don't. That's all I'm offering, but it's your call." Lena's hands were shaking again. She pressed them against her knees, trying to steady herself. "Okay," she said finally. "Okay." She stood up, her movements stiff and awkward, and slowly peeled back the coat Adrian had draped over her shoulders. Underneath, the nightgown was soaked through with blood and melted snow, clinging to her skin. Adrian's expression didn't change. He just waited, patient and still, until she worked up the courage to lift the fabric enough to expose the wound. The cut ran along her lower ribs, angry and red, but not as deep as she'd feared. Bleeding had slowed to a sluggish ooze. "Okay," Adrian said quietly. "That's not great, but it's not fatal. Clean it first, then I'll close it. This is going to hurt." "Everything hurts." Something flickered across his face. Not quite sympathy, more like recognition. He stood up and moved to the kitchen, coming back with a bottle of whiskey and a clean dish towel. "Drink some of that first. It'll help." Lena took the bottle and tilted it back, the alcohol burning all the way down. When she lowered it, Adrian was soaking the towel in the rest of the whiskey. "Ready?" She nodded. The first touch of alcohol-soaked fabric against torn skin lit up every nerve ending she had. Lena bit down on her lip hard enough to taste blood, her hands fisting in the couch cushions. Adrian worked quickly, his movements precise and impersonal, clinical, like he was defusing a bomb, not touching a woman who'd spent 6 years learning that touch meant pain. "Talk to me," he said after a moment. "Keeps your mind off it." "About what?" "Anything." "How'd you meet Marcus?" Wrong question, but maybe that was the point. Give her something to focus on that wasn't the sting of disinfectant or the pull of thread through skin. "College," Lena said, her voice tight. "I was a sophomore. He was a TA in my economics class, charming, attentive. Made me feel like I was the only person in the room." She laughed, the sound hollow. "Classic, right? I should have known better." "You were 19. 20. Still a kid. Old enough to recognize red flags. He didn't even hide them that well. The jealousy. The way he'd reframe every argument so I was always the one apologizing. How he'd show up at my dorm unannounced to surprise me. But really, he was checking to make sure I was alone. She closed her eyes. I saw all of it. I just convinced myself it meant he loved me. Adrian didn't respond to that, just kept working, cleaning the wound with a thoroughness that bordered on meticulous. When did it get physical? He asked. 3 months after we moved in together. I came home late from a study group. He was waiting by the door, said he'd been worried. Then he grabbed my wrist and asked me why I was making him feel crazy. She opened her eyes, staring at the ceiling. I thought it was a one-time thing. Stress from his dissertation, pressure from his family. He apologized, bought me flowers, promised it would never happen again. It always happens again. Yeah, I figured that out. She paused as Adrian threaded the needle, her breath hitching. By the time my parents died, I couldn't leave. He had access to my bank accounts, my phone, my email. Knew everyone I talked to, everywhere I went, and Emma needed stability. A home, someone who could afford to take care of her. Her voice cracked. He offered all of that, and I was so tired of fighting. The first suture pulled tight. Lena hissed through her teeth. Almost done, Adrian said. How do you know how to do this? Practice? On yourself? Sometimes. She wanted to ask more, but another pull of thread cut off the question. By the time Adrian tied off the final stitch, her vision was swimming and her entire body felt like one exposed nerve. There, he said, sitting back. It'll scar, but it's closed. Lena looked down. The wound was neat now, held together by tight black thread that looked almost decorative against her skin. Thank you, she said again. This time, Adrian didn't tell her not to, just started packing up the first aid kit, his movements methodical. The clothes are for you, he said, nodding toward the stack on the coffee table. They'll be big, but they're clean. Showers through there. Take your time. He stood up and headed toward the kitchen, giving her space to breathe. Lena gathered the clothes and made her way to the bathroom. It was as clean as the rest of the apartment, all white tile and chrome fixtures. No windows. One door with a lock that actually worked. She turned the shower on as hot as it would go and peeled off the ruined nightgown. It hit the floor in a wet heap, and she left it there. The water hurt. It always did after Marcus. Too hot, too much pressure, every drop hitting skin that was already raw and oversensitive. But she stood under it anyway, washing away blood and snow and 6 years of him touching her like she was property. When she finally stepped out, the mirror was fogged over. She wiped it clear with one hand and stared at her reflection. Bruises. Some new, some old enough to be turning yellow at the edges. The cut along her ribs was already starting to swell. Her wrists were ringed with marks from where Marcus had grabbed her, his fingers overlapping older scars. She looked like a crime scene. Lena pulled on the clothes Adrian had given her, sweatpants that she had to roll 3 times at the waist, and a t-shirt that hung to her knees. They smelled like detergent and something else. Cedar, maybe. Clean. When she emerged from the bathroom, Adrian was sitting at the kitchen table with a laptop open in front of him. He looked up as she approached. Feel better? Not really. Fair. He turned the laptop toward her. On the screen was a map of the city, dotted with red pins. Your fiancé's operation, or what I could piece together from public records and some creative database searches. 16 properties registered under shell companies. 8 businesses he's tied to through silent partnerships. And this, he zoomed in on a location near the docks, is where I'm guessing he keeps the main hub. Warehouse, heavy security, lots of shipping containers coming and going at weird hours. Lena stared at the screen. How did you find all this in an hour? I'm good at what I do. He closed the laptop. Question is, what are you good at? She blinked. What? You got out. You grabbed evidence. You made it 4 blocks on foot while bleeding and half frozen. That takes planning. Nerve. So I'm asking, what else can you do? No one had asked her that in years. What she could do. What she was capable of. Marcus had spent so long convincing her she was fragile, unstable, one bad day away from a breakdown, that she'd almost started believing it. But she'd also spent 8 months secretly learning his passwords, copying files, memorizing schedules and patterns, building an escape plan one stolen hour at a time. I'm good with computers, she said slowly. Accounting. I used to do freelance bookkeeping before Marcus decided I didn't need to work. And I know his operation, where the money goes, who his partners are, when shipments happen. I've been watching for months. Adrian nodded. Good. That's useful. We're going to need all of it. We. He stood up, moving to pour himself coffee like they were discussing a business proposal, not dismantling a trafficking ring. You want your sister back. I want Marcus Voss and everyone he works with in the ground. Seems like our goals align. You don't even know me. I know enough. He turned to face her, and the look in his eyes was colder than the February wind outside. I know you're the first person in 6 years who's gotten close enough to gather real evidence. I know you risked everything to get out. And I know that if I send you back out there alone, you'll be dead inside a week and that drive will disappear into an evidence locker somewhere, assuming it even makes it that far. He paused. So yeah, we're doing this together, unless you've got a better plan. Lena didn't. She'd used every ounce of courage she had just getting this far. The idea of doing this rest alone, of facing Marcus again, of trying to navigate police stations and lawyers and systems that had never protected her before, it was too much. But trusting Adrian Cade felt like stepping off a cliff. What do you get out of this? She asked. Really? Don't tell me you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. Men like you don't have hearts. Adrian's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air between them. You're right, I don't. He set down his coffee mug, the sound too loud in the quiet apartment. 5 years ago, I had a sister, younger than me, smarter, better. She got involved with the wrong guy, dealer, mid-level, thought he was untouchable. I told her to leave him. She didn't listen. One night, he decided she knew too much, tried to make it look like an overdose. Lena's chest tightened. By the time I found her, it was too late, Adrian continued, his voice flat, empty. I killed him, killed his whole crew, burned down everything they'd built. But it didn't bring her back. So now, when I see men like Marcus Voss, men who think they own people, who think fear and control are love, I don't walk away. He looked at her, and for the first time she saw the grief buried under all that ice. I can't save her, but maybe I can save your sister, and that has to be enough. Silence settled between them, heavy and raw. Lena took a breath, then another. Okay. Okay? Okay, we do this together. But I need your word. No matter what happens, Emma stays safe. That's the priority. Not revenge, not justice, her. Adrian held out his hand. You have my word. She looked at his hand for a long moment, calloused, scarred. The hand of a man who'd done things she probably didn't want to know about. Then she took it. Good, Adrian said. Now get some sleep. We start planning in the morning. Lena didn't sleep. She tried. Adrian had set her up in the guest room, clean sheets, blackout curtains, a door that locked from the inside. Everything she should have needed, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw Marcus's face, felt his hand on her throat, heard him promising to come back for what was his. Around 3 a.m, she gave up and padded out into the living room. Adrian was still awake. He sat at the kitchen table, the glow of his laptop screen casting shadows across his face. Papers were spread out around him, printouts of shipping manifests, financial records, surveillance photos. He looked up when she entered. Can't sleep? Can you? Not usually. He gestured to the coffee pot. Fresh pot if you want some. She poured herself a cup and took the seat across from him. For a while, neither of them spoke. What are you working on? She asked finally. Trying to map out Marcus's network, who he reports to, who reports to him, where the weak points are. Problem is, guys like him are usually insulated, layers of protection between them and the actual dirt. He tapped one of the photos, Marcus at a restaurant, laughing with 2 other men in expensive suits. These are his partners, the ones I could identify anyway. Lawyers, real estate developers, a city councilman, all clean on paper. Lena leaned forward, studying the image. I know them. The one on the left is Richard Crane. He handles Marcus's legal work, helps set up the shell companies. The other is Vincent Torres. He owns half the properties Marcus uses for housing the girls before they're moved. Adrian's eyes sharpened. You're sure? I've had dinner with them, multiple times. Marcus likes to show me off at business functions. Proof that he's a stable, committed family man. Her lip curled. Torres tried to touch my leg under the table once, Marcus saw. Didn't say anything, just smiled and poured more wine. Jesus. Yeah. She took a sip of coffee, letting the bitterness ground her. There's more. Marcus keeps files on everyone he works with. Insurance, he calls it. Emails, recordings, financial transactions, anything that could bury them if they turn on him. He stores it all on a private server in the house. Can you access it? I don't know. Maybe. He changes his passwords regularly, but I might be able to get in if... She stopped. Wait, why am I telling you this? For all I know, you're planning to use it for leverage yourself. I might, Adrian said bluntly. Leverage is useful, but right now my priority is making sure Marcus doesn't have any leverage over you or your sister. If that means burning every person in his network, fine. If it means cutting deals and making alliances, fine. Whatever works. He said it so casually, like morality was just another variable in an equation. You don't care about right and wrong, do you? Lena asked. I care about results. Adrian closed the laptop. Right and wrong are flexible. They change depending on who's in power, what story's being told, who has better lawyers. Results don't lie. You either win or you don't. And Emma? Is she just a result? His jaw tightened. No, she's the reason we're doing this. But don't mistake me for a hero, Lena. I'm not doing this because it's the right thing. I'm doing it because I'm selfish and angry, and I can't stand the idea of another 17-year-old girl ending up like my sister. That's not noble. It's just necessary. Lena studied his face, the hard lines, the scars, the exhaustion that lived behind his eyes like a permanent tenant. He looked like a man who'd stopped believing in good things a long time ago, but kept moving anyway out of sheer spite. She understood that. Okay, she said. Then let's be selfish and angry together. And maybe Emma gets out of this alive. Adrian's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Deal. They worked through the rest of the night, cross-referencing Lena's insider knowledge with Adrian's research. By the time the sun started to rise, they had a plan. Not a good plan. Too many variables, too many ways it could go sideways, but it was something. First step, Adrian said, rubbing his eyes. We get your sister somewhere safe, like Marcus is going to use her as leverage as soon as he realizes you're not coming back. We need to move her before he does. How? He has security watching the house, cameras everywhere. If I just show up and try to take her, you're not showing up, I am. He stood, stretching. I'll pose as a family friend, someone your sister called because she's worried about you. I'll tell her you're safe, that you need her to come with me for a few days until things calm down. Low-key, non-threatening. She won't believe you. Then we make it believable. You call her. Tell her you're okay, but you need space. Tell her Adrian's a friend who's helping you figure things out. Keep it vague, but calm. She'll trust your voice more than anyone else's. Made sense. It was risky, but everything about this was risky. When? Lena asked. Tomorrow. Marcus will be focused on finding you, not watching Emma. That gives us a narrow window. And after we have her? After we go to war. The morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. Lena sat on Adrian's couch, her phone clutched in both hands like it might explode. Outside, the city was waking up, traffic sounds filtering through the windows, people heading to jobs and lives that didn't involve dismantling criminal empires before breakfast. Adrian emerged from his bedroom wearing different clothes, dark jeans, a gray sweater, expensive leather jacket. He looked like someone who belonged in Marcus's world. Polished, controlled, the kind of man who could walk into a room and make people forget to ask questions. You ready? He asked. Lena's thumb hovered over Emma's contact. What if she doesn't answer? She'll answer. You're her sister. What if Marcus is listening? Then we keep it short and vague. Nothing that gives away location or plans, just enough to make her feel safe coming with me. He sat down across from her, his expression serious. Look at me, Lena. This works because Emma trusts you. She's going to hear your voice and know something's wrong, but she's also going to know you wouldn't put her in danger. Use that. Lena took a breath and hit dial. It rang 3 times, 4. On the fifth ring, Emma's voice came through, thick with sleep and confusion. Lena? Where are you? Marcus said you had some kind of episode and needed space, but you didn't even text me and I've been worried sick. Em. Hey, I'm okay. Silence. Then quieter. You don't sound okay. I know. But I am. I needed to get away for a few days, clear my head. Away where? Are you at a hospital? Marcus said, Marcus doesn't know everything. The words came out sharper than Lena intended. She softened her tone. Listen, I'm safe. I'm with a friend, but I need you to do something for me. What friend? Lena, you're scaring me. His name is Adrian. He's going to come by the house this afternoon. I need you to go with him. Go with him where? Somewhere safe. Just for a couple days. Until I can explain everything. Emma's voice went tight. Did Marcus hurt you? Lena closed her eyes. Her little sister was too smart for her own good. Always had been. Please, Em. I promise I'll explain everything, but right now I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Another pause. Lena could practically hear her sister's mind working through the implications, weighing loyalty against fear, against the 1,000 small moments over the past 6 years when Lena had stopped seeming like herself. Okay, Emma said finally. What does Adrian look like? Dark hair, tall, he'll have a scar through his left eyebrow, and he'll know the password. What password? The one from when we were kids, when we used to sneak out to the convenience store for ice cream after Mom and Dad went to bed. She heard Emma's sharp intake of breath. They hadn't talked about that in years. The late-night adventures, the shared secrets, the life they'd had before everything fell apart. Midnight waffle cone, Emma whispered. Midnight waffle cone, Lena confirmed. He'll say it when he picks you up. If he doesn't, don't go with him. Lena, I love you. I'll see you soon. She hung up before Emma could ask more questions. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. Adrian stood. Good. That was good. She'll be ready. What if Marcus doesn't let her leave? Marcus isn't there. I've been monitoring his movements since last night. He's at his office downtown, probably coordinating the search for you. The house only has 2 security guards on rotation during weekdays. I can handle 2 guards. The casual way he said it made Lena's stomach turn. Handle how? However I need to. He checked his watch. I'm leaving in 10 minutes. You stay here. Don't answer the door for anyone. Don't make any calls except to me. The laptop has a secure line if you need to reach me. Password is on the sticky note. You'll be fine. He said it like a promise, but Lena had learned a long time ago that promises didn't mean much when the world decided to go sideways. What if something goes wrong? She asked. Adrian paused at the door. Then I improvise. It's what I'm good at. And then he was gone. The apartment felt too big without him in it, too quiet. Lena paced from the living room to the kitchen and back again, her mind conjuring every possible disaster. Marcus showing up early, the guards recognizing Adrian, Emma panicking and refusing to leave. She tried to distract herself with the files Adrian had left spread across the table. Shipping manifests, financial records, surveillance photos. All the pieces of Marcus's empire laid out like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Her eye caught on one of the photos, a warehouse near the docks. The same one Adrian had highlighted last night. In the image, a shipping container was being loaded onto a truck, 2 men in suits supervising. She recognized one of them. Vincent Torres, Marcus's real estate partner. The man who touched her leg under the table while Marcus poured wine and smiled. Lena pulled the photo closer. Something about it nagged at her. The timestamp showed it was taken 3 weeks ago, late at night, but the container number was visible in the corner, partially obscured but readable if you knew what to look for. She grabbed the laptop and pulled up the shipping records she'd copied from Marcus's computer. It took 10 minutes of cross-referencing, but she found it. Container 4782-B. Shipped from Manila to the city port on February 10th. Cleared customs on February 12th with a declared manifest of textile manufacturing equipment. Except Marcus didn't deal in textiles, and the payment routing showed the container had been pre-purchased by one of Torres's shell companies 6 months in advance. Lena's stomach went cold. She dug deeper, pulling up more records, more photos, more transactions. The pattern emerged slowly, then all at once. Every 3 months, A new container. Always purchased months ahead. Always cleared by the same customs officer. Always transported to the warehouse in the dead of night. And the timing lined up with spikes in Marcus's offshore account activity. Large deposits, usually in the range of $2 to $3 million, showing up within days of each container's arrival. This wasn't just trafficking. This was volume trafficking, industrial scale. The laptop chirped. Incoming message from Adrian. At the house. Stand by. Lena stared at the screen, her heart hammering. She typed back quickly. Be careful. There's more here than we thought. No response. She waited, counting seconds that felt like hours. Outside, the city kept moving. People living normal lives, unaware that a few miles away, a 17-year-old girl was about to be pulled out of a house that looked perfect from the outside but was rotting from within. The laptop chirped again. She's safe. Coming back. Lena let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Her legs gave out and she sank into the chair, the relief so overwhelming it almost hurt. Emma was safe. Emma was out. Now they could fight back. 40 minutes later, Adrian's key turned in the lock. The door opened and Emma rushed through, her eyes wild and red-rimmed, scanning the apartment until she found Lena. Oh my God, Lena, what the hell is happening? Lena stood and Emma crashed into her, arms wrapping tight enough to hurt. She was taller than Lena now, had been for almost a year, but in that moment she felt small and scared and 17. I'm okay, Lena whispered into her sister's hair. I'm okay. You're okay. We're both okay. Marcus said you were having a breakdown. He said you attacked him and ran off, and that you weren't thinking clearly. He said... Emma pulled back, her eyes searching Lena's face. He was lying, wasn't he? Yeah, he was lying. About everything? About everything that matters. Emma's face crumpled. I should have known. I should have seen it. All those times you'd flinch when he walked into the room, or you'd have a bruise and say you fell, or you'd just stop talking in the middle of a sentence like, you forgot how. I knew something was wrong, but I convinced myself I was imagining it because you kept saying everything was fine. Hey, look at me. Lena gripped her sister's shoulders. This is not on you. None of this is on you. You were a kid dealing with dead parents and a sister who was lying to you every single day. You didn't fail me. I failed you by not getting us out sooner. Adrian cleared his throat from the doorway. Both women turned to look at him. We should probably not stand in the open hallway having this conversation, he said. Just a thought. Emma wiped her eyes and seemed to notice him for the first time. Really notice him. Her expression shifted from grief to wariness in half a second. You're Adrian. I am. Midnight waffle cone. Midnight waffle cone, he confirmed. Emma looked at Lena. Is he... He's helping us. He's the reason I'm still alive. Lena hesitated. And before you ask, no, I don't know if we can trust him, but right now, he's all we've got. I'm standing right here, Adrian pointed out. I know, that's why I said it out loud instead of whispering. Lena moved past him into the apartment, pulling Emma with her. Come on, we have a lot to talk about. They settled in the living room, Emma on the couch next to Lena, Adrian in his usual chair across from them. For a moment, no one spoke. Emma kept staring at the files spread across the coffee table, her expression growing darker with every piece she recognized. Is that Marcus's office? She pointed to one of the surveillance photos. Yeah. And that's the warehouse where he said he was storing furniture for the charity auction. It's not furniture. Emma went very still. Dozens at least, maybe more. And you didn't tell me. I couldn't. He threatened? Lena's voice broke. He said if I ever tried to leave, if I ever went to the police, he'd make sure you disappeared into the pipeline, that I'd never see you again. So I kept quiet and I played along and I pretended everything was fine because as long as he thought I was under control, you were safe. Emma's hands clenched into fists. I'm going to kill him. Get in line, Adrian said dryly. I'm serious. I'm going to find him and I'm going to... You're not going to do anything except stay here and stay safe, Lena cut in. That's the whole point. I got you out so you wouldn't be part of this. I am part of this. He had me living in his house, eating his food, calling him family, and the whole time he was... Emma stood abruptly, pacing. How many girls? How many were there while I was sleeping upstairs thinking we were just a weird, quiet family? Um, how many, Lena? I don't know, Lena admitted. They're never in the house for long. A few days, maybe a week. Then they're moved. I only saw them a handful of times. Marcus always made sure I was out of town or medicated when they came through. Emma stopped pacing. Medicated? Lena looked away. He had a doctor who would prescribe sedatives. Said they were for my anxiety. He'd slip them into my food whenever he needed me out of the way. The silence that followed was toxic. I'm going to kill him, Emma said again, quieter this time. I'm going to watch him bleed out, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. Adrian stood. You want to hurt him? I understand. But revenge is messy and it's stupid and it gets people killed. You want him destroyed? We do this smart. We take apart his entire operation piece by piece until there's nothing left. We make sure every single person who helped him ends up in a cell or a grave. And then, when he's got nothing left, no money, no power, no protection, we let the world know exactly what he is. He said it with such cold certainty that even Emma stopped to listen. How? She asked. Adrian looked at Lena. Your sister's been gathering evidence for 8 months. Financial records, shipping manifests, client lists, everything. We have enough to bury him and everyone connected to him. But we can't just hand it to the police. Half of them are probably on his payroll. We need to go bigger. Bigger how? Media, federal investigators, international agencies. We leak it everywhere at once, make it so big and so public that it can't be buried or ignored, force their hand. Emma crossed her arms. And what do we do in the meantime? Just hide here and hope he doesn't find us? No. In the meantime, we gather more evidence. We identify every person in his network. We find the girls who are still trapped, and we get them out before this whole thing goes public. That's insane. We're 3 people. He has an army. He has hired security and corrupt officials. That's not the same thing. Adrian's expression hardened. I've taken down bigger operations with less. The key is leverage. We find what each person values most: money, reputation, freedom, family. And we use it. Turn them against each other. Make Marcus's empire eat itself from the inside. Emma looked at Lena. You trust him? I don't know, but I trust that he wants Marcus gone as much as we do. And right now, that's enough. Emma sank back onto the couch, exhaustion written across her face. This is insane. This whole thing is insane. 2 days ago, I was worried about chemistry homework. Now I'm an accomplice to taking down a trafficking ring. You're not an accomplice, Lena said. You're a victim, and when this is over, you're going to be a survivor. That's all. What about you? What are you going to be? Lena didn't have an answer for that. Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his expression shifted. We've got a problem. What kind of problem? He turned the phone around. On the screen was a news alert. Local businessman Marcus Voss reported fiancée missing, fears for her safety due to ongoing mental health crisis. Lena's blood went cold. He's already spinning it, Adrian said, making you look unstable. By tomorrow, he'll have half the city looking for you, and when they find you, no one's going to believe a word you say. So we release the evidence now, Emma said. We can't. It's not verified yet. Any decent lawyer will tear it apart, claim it's fabricated, that Lena doctored the files during her breakdown. We need corroboration, witnesses, physical evidence that can't be disputed. Then how do we get it? Adrian was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then his eyes sharpened. The warehouse. The one Torres owns. If Marcus is running containers through there, there'll be records, manifests, shipping logs, maybe even physical evidence if we're lucky. We get in, get what we need, get out. That's breaking and entering, Emma pointed out. Yes. And probably a dozen other laws. Probably. And if we get caught, then we go to jail and Marcus wins. Adrian shrugged. But we won't get caught. The warehouse only has minimal security during the week. 1 guard, maybe 2. They're not expecting trouble. We go in tonight, late, 3 in the morning, in and out in under an hour. Lena shook her head. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking, I'm offering. There's a difference. Why? Why are you doing any of this? Adrian's jaw tightened. For a moment, she thought he wasn't going to answer. Then he said, because 5 years ago, I didn't. And someone died because of it. I'm not making that mistake twice. The weight of those words settled over the room like fog. Emma broke the silence. I'm coming with you. No, Lena and Adrian said at the same time. You need me. I know how Marcus thinks. I've spent 2 years living with him, watching him manipulate people. I can help. You're 17, Lena said. So? Age doesn't make me useless, and I'm not sitting here while you two risk your lives. Emma, I'm coming. You can either let me help or spend the whole time worrying about what I'm doing back here alone. Your choice. Lena looked at Adrian. He spread his hands. She's got a point. Leaving her here unprotected is risky. And if Marcus has any suspicions about where she went, this is the first place he'll look. So what? We just bring a high school kid to break into a warehouse. I've done worse things with worse backup. Emma stood. I'm not a kid, and I'm not helpless. I want to do this. I need to do this. Please, Lena, let me help. There was steel in her sister's voice, the same steel that had gotten her through 2 years of living under Marcus's roof without breaking. The same steel that ran in their family, stubborn and sharp. Lena sighed. Fine. But you stay in the car. Your lookout. That's it. I can do more than, that's the deal. Take it, or I lock you in the bathroom until we get back. Emma's mouth twitched, almost a smile. You can try. I will literally sit on you. You weigh like 90 pounds. I've got anger on my side. That counts for something. For the first time since Emma arrived, the tension broke just enough to breathe. Adrian watched them with something that might have been amusement, though his expression was too controlled to tell. We should rest, he said. Get a few hours of sleep before tonight. It's going to be a long night. Emma claimed the guest room. Lena tried to sleep on the couch, but her mind wouldn't shut off. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Marcus's face, heard his voice, felt his hand on her throat. Around noon, she gave up and went into the kitchen. Adrian was there, making coffee, looking like he hadn't slept at all. You okay? He asked. No, but I will be. He poured her a cup without asking and slid it across the counter. Your sister's tough. She had to be. Our parents died in a car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light. Emma was 14, I was 24. Suddenly, I was her legal guardian, trying to finish college and work 2 jobs and keep her fed and safe. Marcus seemed like a solution. Stable income, nice house, good schools. I thought I was doing the right thing. You were trying to survive. I was stupid. You were 24 and alone and terrified. That's not stupid, that's human. Lena took a sip of coffee. It was too hot, but she welcomed the burn. How did you know? Last night, in the alley. How did you know I wasn't just some addict or drunk person collapsed in the street? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. I told you about my sister. Yeah. What I didn't tell you is that I found her in an alley, just like I found you. Same position, same look in her eyes. That kind of fear, that kind of pain. You don't forget it. He stared into his coffee cup. When I saw you, I thought maybe I was getting a second chance. A chance to do what I should have done 5 years ago. What should you have done? Pulled her out sooner, before it got that bad, before he convinced her she couldn't leave. His hands tightened around the cup. I knew something was wrong. She stopped calling as much, stopped showing up to family dinners, always had an excuse. And I let it go because I was busy building my empire, and I told myself she was an adult who could make her own choices. Then one night, I got a call from the hospital. They said she'd overdosed. Accidental, probably. But I knew he'd done it, and by the time I got there, she was already gone. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just make sure this doesn't end the same way. They fell into silence, both lost in their own ghosts. The afternoon dragged. Emma spent most of it on Adrian's laptop, researching, taking notes, building a mental map of Marcus's operation. Lena watched her sister work, seeing glimpses of the girl she used to be before everything fell apart. Smart, focused, unbreakable. Around 6, Adrian ordered food from a place that didn't ask questions and delivered in cash. They ate in relative quiet, each of them mentally preparing for what came next. At midnight, Adrian started gathering equipment. 2 handguns, both compact and easy to conceal. Lockpicks, a laptop with data scraping software already installed. Dark clothes for all of them. Emma held up the gun he handed her. I don't know how to use this. Safety's here. Point, squeeze, don't pull. And only use it if someone's actively trying to kill you. Preferably not even then. Comforting. It's a backup. You're not going to need it. Lena checked her own weapon. She'd never held a gun before Marcus. He'd taught her to shoot at a range upstate, said it was important for her to be able to protect herself. At the time, she thought he was being thoughtful. Now she understood it was just another form of control. Make her dependent on him for safety, for knowledge, for everything. But the muscle memory was still there. Safety off. Stance solid. Breathe. Adrian watched her. You've done this before. Marcus liked to play teacher. He teach you well? Well enough. At 2:30 in the morning, they left the apartment. The city was quieter at this hour, the streets mostly empty except for the occasional taxi or delivery truck. Adrian drove, Emma in the passenger seat, Lena in the back. No one spoke. The warehouse district was industrial and abandoned, the kind of place where no one asked questions about trucks coming and going at odd hours. Adrian killed the lights 2 blocks out and coasted to a stop behind a cluster of dumpsters. Cameras? Lena asked. 4, but I've got a loop running. As long as we're in and out in under an hour, security won't notice anything unusual. And the guard? There's only one tonight. I checked the rotation. He's on the east side, doing rounds every 30 minutes. We time it right, we'll never cross paths. Emma twisted around in her seat. And if something goes wrong? Then we improvise. Adrian handed her a radio. Channel 3. You see anything weird? You call it in. Someone comes that doesn't belong, you hit the horn twice, and we bail. Got it? Got it. Good. Stay low. Keep the doors locked. If we're not back in an hour, you drive straight to the police station, and you tell them everything. Don't wait for us. Emma's face went pale, but she nodded. Adrian looked at Lena. Ready? No, not even close. But she said, yeah. They moved quickly and quietly through the shadows, keeping to the blind spots Adrian had mapped out earlier. The warehouse loomed ahead, all corrugated metal and broken windows. Up close, it looked even more decrepit than in the photos. Rust stains ran down the walls like dried blood. Adrian picked the lock in under a minute. The door swung open with a creak that sounded deafening in the silence. Inside, the warehouse was cavernous. Shipping containers stacked 3 high, pallets of goods wrapped in plastic, forklifts parked in neat rows. Everything organized with military precision. Office is upstairs, Adrian whispered. That's where the records will be. They climbed a metal staircase, each step echoing despite their careful movements. The office was small and cluttered, papers everywhere, filing cabinets lining one wall. Lena went straight for the computer. It was password protected, but Marcus had a habit of using the same passwords across systems. She tried 3 variations before it unlocked. I'm in. Adrian kept watch at the door while Lena pulled up files. Shipping manifests, container logs, payment records, everything they needed and more. She plugged in a flash drive and started copying. The progress bar crawled across the screen. 70%. 80%. Adrian's radio crackled, Emma's voice tight with fear. Someone's coming, black SUV, 2 men. Cops? Adrian asked. I don't think so. They're not marked. Lena's hands froze over the keyboard. Marcus's security. 90%. How long? Adrian asked. They just pulled into the lot. Maybe 2 minutes before they're inside. 95%. Come on, Lena whispered. Come on. 100%. She yanked the drive free and shoved it into her pocket. Got it. Let's go. They were halfway down the stairs when the main door opened. If you or someone you know is having a difficult time, free support is available. Find resources. Adrian's hand shot out, grabbing Lena's arm and pulling her back against the wall. They pressed into the shadows at the top of the stairs, barely breathing. Below, footsteps echoed across concrete. 2 sets, moving with purpose. Check the containers first, a voice called out. Male. Gruff. Boss wants a full inventory before the shipment tomorrow. Why tonight? It's 3 in the morning. Because he said so. You want to argue with him? A pause. No. Then shut up and help me count. The footsteps moved away, heading deeper into the warehouse. Adrian waited until the sound faded, then gestured toward the stairs. They descended carefully, testing each step before putting weight on it. The metal still groaned. Lena's heart hammered so loud she was convinced it would give them away. They made it to the bottom. The main floor stretched out before them, a maze of containers and equipment. The two men were somewhere on the far side, their voices carrying but indistinct. Adrian pointed toward a side exit. Lena nodded. They were 10 feet from the door when a flashlight beam cut across their path. "Hey!" No time to think. Adrian shoved Lena toward the exit. "Run!" She ran. Behind her, shouting erupted, heavy footsteps pounding after them. Adrian fired twice, not aiming to hit, just buying seconds. The gunshots cracked like thunder in the enclosed space. Lena hit the exit door at full speed, bursting out into the night. The cold air burned her lungs. She could see the car, Emma's pale face visible through the windshield. Adrian was right behind her. "Go, go, go!" They sprinted across the parking lot. Behind them, the warehouse door slammed open. More shouting. Another gunshot, this one closer. Emma already had the engine running. Lena threw herself into the back seat, Adrian diving in behind her. The car lurched forward before his door was even closed. "Drive!" Adrian barked. Emma floored it. The tires screamed against asphalt, fishtailing before finding traction. In the rearview mirror, Lena saw the two men stumble out of the warehouse, one of them raising a weapon. "Get down!" The rear window exploded. Glass sprayed everywhere. Emma yelped but kept driving, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Turn right at the next intersection," Adrian said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Then left. Then right again. We need to lose them before they get a plate number." Emma followed his instructions, taking corners too fast, the car shuddering with each turn. Lena risked a glance back. No headlights following. Either they'd lost them, or the men were calling for backup instead of giving chase. Neither option was good. "Emma, you okay?" Lena asked. Define okay. Her sister's voice was shaking but controlled. "I'm not shot. That's something." "Anyone hit?" Adrian was checking himself methodically, running hands over his torso and limbs. "I'm fine," Lena said. "Same." "Emma?" "I'm good. Just scared out of my mind, but good." "That's normal. Keep driving. Get us back to the apartment." They drove in silence for 10 minutes, taking random turns, doubling back twice to make sure no one was following. When they finally pulled into Adrian's building's underground garage, Lena's whole body was shaking. Inside the apartment, Emma collapsed onto the couch. That was insane. That was absolutely insane. "Welcome to felony breaking and entering," Adrian said. He went to the window, peering out through a gap in the curtains. "Did they see your face?" "I don't know. Maybe. It was dark." "But they saw the car." "Probably." "Then we need to ditch it tonight. I'll make some calls, get it disappeared." Lena pulled the flash drive from her pocket. Her hands were still trembling. "At least we got this." "Let me see." She handed it to Adrian. He plugged it into his laptop, files populating the screen. His expression grew darker with each folder he opened. "This is good. Really good. Shipping manifests going back 3 years, payment records, names of buyers. There's even correspondence with customs officials about expedited clearances." He scrolled further. "Wait, what's this?" Lena leaned over his shoulder. On screen was a spreadsheet, rows and rows of data, names, ages, countries of origin, prices. Her stomach turned. "That's them, the girls." Emma got up and looked. Her face went ashen. "There are hundreds." 462, Adrian said quietly. "Over 3 years. Some marked as deceased, some marked as relocated. Most just have transaction dates and buyer codes." The room felt too small, too hot. Lena backed away, her breath coming too fast. "This is worse than I thought," she managed. "I knew it was bad, but this—" "Hey!" Adrian was in front of her suddenly, his hands on her shoulders, not grabbing, just steadying. "Breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Come on." She tried, failed, tried again. The panic attack was building, the walls closing in, 6 years of suppressed horror finally breaking through. Adrian guided her to the couch. "Sit. Head between your knees. Focus on breathing. Nothing else matters right now except breathing." Emma sat beside her, one hand rubbing circles on her back. "You're okay. We're okay." Just breathe, Lena. It took 5 minutes for the worst of it to pass. When Lena finally lifted her head, her face was wet with tears she didn't remember crying. Sorry, she whispered. Don't be, Adrian said. You just saw evidence that your fiancé is responsible for the suffering of hundreds of people. You're allowed to fall apart. I can't afford to fall apart. Not now. Then fall apart for 5 minutes and get back up. But don't pretend this doesn't affect you. That's how people break permanently. Lena wiped her face. I'm okay. I'm good. What do we do with this? Adrian sat back in his chair. We verify it. Cross-reference the names with missing persons reports. Match the dates with shipping records and financial transactions. Build an airtight case. How long will that take? Days? Maybe a week? We don't have a week. Those men saw us. They're going to tell Marcus someone was in the warehouse. He's going to know it was me. Probably. But knowing and proving are different things. As far as he knows, you could be anywhere. You could have hired someone to break in. He can't be sure. Emma stood abruptly. He's going to come after us. You know he will. He's not just going to let this go. No, he's not. Which is why we need to move. This apartment isn't safe anymore. He has resources, people who can track us down if they try hard enough. Adrian was already closing the laptop, gathering files. I've got a secondary location, a place no one knows about. We go there, we work fast, and we get this information out before he can stop us. Where? Lena asked. Better if you don't know until we're there. The less you can tell if someone asks, the safer you are. It was sound logic. It was also terrifying. They were cutting ties with everything familiar, running toward an uncertain future with only Adrian's word that there was a plan. But staying meant dying. Lena had learned that lesson well enough. Okay, she said. Let's go. They packed quickly. Clothes, files, equipment. Adrian moved with military efficiency, checking weapons, securing documents, erasing any trace they'd been there. Within 20 minutes, the apartment looked like no one had lived in it for weeks. Emma stood by the door, holding a bag with her few possessions. What about school? My friends? I can't just disappear. You can and you will, Lena said. Until this is over, you're a ghost. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a ghost. I want my life back. I know. Me too. But this is temporary. Once Marcus is in prison, once his whole operation is dismantled, we can rebuild. New city, new names if we have to, but we'll be free. Emma's eyes were wet. Promise? I promise. Adrian ushered them out. They took his car this time, a different vehicle than the one from the warehouse. They drove for 2 hours, leaving the city behind, heading into suburbs that gradually gave way to rural farmland. The safe house turned out to be an old hunting cabin tucked into the woods, miles from the nearest neighbor. It was small and run down, but it had electricity and running water, and most importantly, it was off the grid. You own this? Lena asked as Adrian unlocked the door. My uncle did. Left it to me when he died. I've kept it maintained, but I never told anyone about it. As far as official records go, it doesn't exist. Inside smelled like dust and old wood. Emma found the bedroom and claimed it immediately, closing the door. Lena could hear her crying through the thin walls. She'll be okay, Adrian said. This is a lot to process. She's 17. She should be worrying about prom, not running from human traffickers. Yeah, she should. He set his bag down and started setting up his laptop on the kitchen table. But she's not. And pretending otherwise doesn't help her. Best thing you can do is teach her how to survive this and come out stronger. Is that what your sister would have wanted? For you to turn into this? Adrian's hand stilled on the keyboard. My sister would have wanted to live. She didn't get that option, so I do what I can with what's left. The weight of that statement hung between them. Lena sat down across from him. I need to know something. When this is over, when Marcus is gone, are you going to disappear? Or are we still going to owe you? You don't owe me anything. That's not an answer. Adrian looked up, his dark eyes unreadable. When this is over, I'm going back to my life. You're going to yours, whatever that looks like. I don't collect debts from people I help. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? I see someone who needs help. I help them. I move on. Simple. Nothing about you is simple. Maybe not, but my intentions are. He turned back to the laptop. Now let's get to work. The faster we build this case, the faster you get your life back. They worked through the night and into the next day. Adrian cross-referenced names from the spreadsheet with missing persons databases, while Lena matched shipping dates with financial transactions. The pattern was brutally clear. Every container arrival corresponded with a spike in Marcus's accounts. Every girl listed in the spreadsheet matched a missing person report somewhere in the world, some as young as 13. Lena forced herself to keep working, to stay numb, to treat this like data instead of lives. If she thought too hard about what the numbers meant, she'd break, and breaking wasn't an option. Emma emerged around noon, red-eyed but composed. She joined them at the table without a word, taking over the task of compiling evidence into organized folders. By evening, they had a case. Not just evidence, a narrative. A clear documented trail showing Marcus's operation from start to finish. Money laundering through shell companies, bribes to customs officials and local politicians, communications with buyers, testimonies from the shipping manifests themselves, girls reduced to inventory numbers. This is enough, Adrian said. More than enough. We could hand this to the FBI right now and watch them scramble to build their own case. But, Lena prompted, but Marcus has connections, good lawyers. He'll tie this up in court for years. And in the meantime, he'll destroy evidence, disappear witnesses, maybe even relocate his entire operation. So what do we do? Adrian leaned back in his chair. We go nuclear. We don't just give this to law enforcement. We give it to everyone. Every major news outlet, every federal agency, Interpol, human trafficking watchdogs. We dump it all at once and make it impossible to contain. When? Emma asked. Tomorrow night. I've got contacts who can distribute this simultaneously across multiple platforms. By sunrise the next day, Marcus's face will be on every screen in the country. Lena's heart raced. And then what? He'll know it came from me. He'll come after us. Let him. By the time he mobilizes, every cop in the city will be looking for him. He'll have bigger problems than revenge. You're assuming they'll move fast enough. I'm assuming they won't have a choice. The public pressure alone will force them to act immediately. Emma closed the laptop she'd been working on. And what about the girls who are still trapped? The ones in his system right now? We expose him. He might kill them to eliminate witnesses. Adrian's expression darkened. She'd hit the one flaw in the plan. We get them out first, Lena said, before we release anything. We find where they're being held, and we get them out. That's a tactical nightmare, Adrian said. We don't know how many locations there are, how many guards, how many girls. We try to hit one. We alert the others. Then we hit them all at once. With what army? There's 3 of us. Then we find more people. You said you have contacts. People who do this kind of work. I have contacts who smuggle weapons and run protection rackets, not rescue operations. Lena stood, her hands flat on the table. Then we make it worth their while. We tell them exactly where Marcus keeps his money, his assets, his blackmail material on half the powerful people in the city. We give them everything in exchange for one night of backup. Adrian studied her for a long moment. You're talking about starting a war. I'm talking about ending one. Marcus built his empire on people's silence and fear. We take away both. We burn it all down and scatter the ashes. Emma was watching her sister with something like awe. When did you get scary? Around the time I decided I was done being afraid. Adrian's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Okay, we do it your way. But we plan this carefully, every detail, every contingency. We get one shot. After that, it's chaos. They spent the next 36 hours planning. Adrian reached out to contacts through encrypted channels, people who owed him favors or wanted what he was offering. Slowly, a team formed. Not good people, not by any conventional measure, but people who understood loyalty and profit and the value of burning Marcus Voss's empire to ash. Lena used the evidence to map out Marcus's operation. 4 primary locations where girls were held before being moved. A townhouse on the north side that posed as a modeling agency. An apartment complex downtown, supposedly for foreign exchange students. The warehouse they'd already hit. And a private estate outside the city, registered to Vincent Torres but clearly operating as Marcus's personal holding facility. Each location had different security, different numbers of people, different risks. We split into teams, Adrian explained, laying out a map on the table. Each team hits a location simultaneously. Get the girls out, get them somewhere safe, burn any evidence that can be burned. Who's we? Emma asked. Me and 5 others I trust. You two stay here. Absolutely not, Lena said immediately. I'm going. You're a liability. Marcus knows your face. You show up at any of these locations, you're a target. Good. Let him focus on me instead of the girls. I can handle myself. Can you? Adrian's voice was sharp. Can you handle getting shot at? Watching people die? Making life or death decisions in seconds? Because that's what this is going to be. This isn't breaking into a warehouse. This is a coordinated assault on armed facilities. People are going to get hurt. I know that. I'm still going. Why? Why risk it when you could stay safe? Because they're there because of me. The words exploded out of her. Every single one of those girls is there because I was too scared to run sooner. Because I chose to protect myself and Emma instead of doing something when I first found out. I don't get to sit here in safety while other people fix my mess. Adrian's jaw tightened. This isn't your fault. Maybe not, but it's my responsibility now. And I'm seeing it through. They stared at each other across the table. Emma watched, silent. Finally, Adrian nodded. Fine, but you follow my lead. You do exactly what I say, when I say it. No heroics. Understood? Understood. And you, he said, turning to Emma, you stay here. No arguments. I wasn't going to argue. I'm not stupid. Emma crossed her arms. But I want a gun. And a phone with a direct line to the police. If something goes wrong, if you don't come back, I need to be able to protect myself and get help. Adrian considered this. Fair. I'll leave you both. The night of the operation arrived too fast and too slow. Adrian's contacts showed up at dusk, 5 men who looked like they'd learned violence early and never forgotten the lessons. They didn't ask questions, just listened to the plan, checked their weapons, and waited. Lena felt disconnected from her body. She watched herself load a gun, check her vest, go over the plan one more time. This wasn't her. She was a bookkeeper. A woman who'd spent years making herself small and quiet and invisible. But that woman was gone. Or maybe she'd never really existed. Maybe this anger, this resolve, this willingness to walk into fire had been buried underneath all along. Emma hugged her before they left. Come back, please come back. I will, I promise. You promised earlier, too, about us being free. You better keep that one. I will. They drove in 2 vehicles, Adrian, Lena, and 2 others in 1 car. The rest split between the other locations. The plan was simple in theory. At exactly midnight, all teams move simultaneously. Extract the girls. Neutralize any security. Get out before law enforcement shows up. In practice, simple plans never stayed simple. Their target was the townhouse, the one posing as a modeling agency. According to the files, it currently held 8 girls, ages 15 to 19, 2 armed guards on rotation, cameras at every entrance. Adrian parked 3 blocks away. Cameras go dark in 5 minutes. That's our window. We go in through the back. First floor is where they keep the girls. Guards are usually on the ground floor and second floor. We get the girls out first, deal with security second. One of Adrian's contacts, a man who'd introduced himself only as Reese, checked his weapon. What if they resist? Then we make them not resist. But no kills unless absolutely necessary. We're not murderers. We're just very motivated trespassers. Reese grunted. Sure, whatever helps you sleep. 5 minutes later, Adrian's phone buzzed. Cameras are down. Let's move. They approached from the back alley, quick and quiet. The rear door was locked but not reinforced. Reese had it open in seconds. They slipped inside. The townhouse was nicer than Lena expected. Carpeted floors, decent furniture, the kind of place that could pass for a legitimate business. But underneath the veneer, she could feel it, the wrongness, the fear soaked into the walls. They found the first girl in a room on the left, 16, maybe 17. She was awake, sitting on a narrow bed, staring at nothing. Lena knelt in front of her. We're getting you out. Can you walk? The girl didn't respond, just stared. Hey, look at me. You're safe now. We're taking you somewhere safe, but we need to move fast. Can you do that? Finally, a nod. Good. Stay quiet. Stay behind us, okay? Another nod. They moved room to room, 7 more girls, some lucid, some drugged, all terrified. Lena's heart broke and hardened in equal measure. By the time they had all 8 gathered in the hallway, footsteps sounded on the stairs. Someone's coming, Reese whispered. Adrian signaled. Lena ushered the girls toward the back door while Adrian and Reese positioned themselves. The guard came around the corner, flashlight sweeping. He saw them and his hand went for his weapon. Adrian moved faster. The gun came up, fired once. The guard went down with a strangled cry, clutching his shoulder. Non-lethal, Adrian said. See? I'm practically a saint. More shouting from upstairs. They were out of time. Go! Adrian pushed Lena toward the exit. Get them out. We'll cover you. Lena herded the girls out into the alley. The second vehicle was already waiting, engine running. She got them loaded, counted heads, made sure no one was missing. Gunfire erupted inside the townhouse, sharp cracks that echoed off brick walls. Adrian! Lena started back. He emerged seconds later, Reese right behind him. Go! 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 They piled into the car and the driver hit the gas. In the rearview mirror, Lena saw men spilling out of the townhouse, shouting, raising weapons. Then they turned a corner and the scene disappeared. Adrian was on his phone immediately. Status report, Team 2? A crackling voice responded. Clean extraction, 12 girls, no casualties. Team 3? Same, 10 girls. 1 guard injured. We're clear. Team 4? Silence. Team 4, report. More silence. Then a different voice, tight with pain. We've got a problem. Police showed up. Someone must have tipped them. We got the girls out, but they're pinned down. Torres's estate. We need backup now. Adrian's expression went cold. I'm 10 minutes out. Hold position. He looked at Lena. Take these girls to the safe point. Address is in the GPS. You remember the route? Yeah, but no buts. Get them safe. I'm going to help Team 4. I'm coming with you. Lena? I said I'm coming. Reese leaned forward from the back seat. He's right. You're a civilian. You've done your part. Let us handle this. Torres's estate is where Marcus keeps the girls he's personally invested in, the ones he doesn't want to sell. If the police are there, he'll be there too, making sure evidence disappears, making sure no one talks. Lena's voice was steel. I'm not missing my chance to look him in the eye while his world burns. Adrian cursed under his breath. You're going to get yourself killed. Maybe, but I'm still going. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he told the driver, drop the girls at the safe point, then head to Torres's estate. Fast as you can. The safe point was a warehouse on the industrial edge of town, run by someone Adrian called a friend, but who looked more like a man who'd stopped asking questions decades ago. They unloaded the girls into his care, 8 terrified faces that Lena knew would haunt her for the rest of her life. A woman was waiting inside, someone with medical training, already moving to help. They'll be okay, the old man said to Lena. His voice was gravel and smoke. I've done this before. Got connections with shelters that don't ask for paperwork. They'll be fed, clothed, safe. You did good. Lena wanted to tell him she hadn't done nearly enough, but there wasn't time. Adrian was already back in the car, checking his phone, his jaw tight. Team 4 is still pinned. Police have the front entrance blocked. They're stuck in the east wing with 6 girls and no exit. How many police? Reese asked. At least 4 cars. Maybe more by now. Then we can't go in guns blazing. We'll start a war we can't win. Adrian's fingers drummed against his thigh, thinking, calculating. We don't need to fight them. We just need to give Team 4 an opening to slip out the back. How? Distraction. Something big enough to pull focus, but not big enough to escalate things into a bloodbath. He looked at Lena. You still want to face Marcus? Her pulse quickened. Yes. Then you're going to walk up to those police cars and turn yourself in. Lena blinked. What? You're a missing person. Marcus filed a report, remember? Said you were having a mental health crisis. You show up, disoriented, talking about being held captive at that estate. They'll have to investigate. That gives Team 4 the distraction they need to get out. And then what? I'm stuck with the police and Marcus. Then you tell them everything. About Marcus, about the trafficking, about what you found. You've got the flash drive on you. Give it to them. You said we couldn't trust the police. I said we couldn't trust all of them. But in a situation like this, with multiple units responding, at least some of them are going to be clean. And once you start talking, once you hand over evidence, they can't ignore it. Not with witnesses around. Reese shook his head. That's a hell of a risk. She could end up in custody. Or worse, if Marcus has people on the inside. It's the only play we have that doesn't involve a shootout with cops. I'm open to better suggestions. Silence filled the car. Lena's mind raced. Everything in her screamed that this was a trap, a suicide mission, walking straight into Marcus's hands. But the alternative was leaving those girls inside, leaving Adrian's team to die or get arrested. Okay, she said. I'll do it. Adrian turned to look at her. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The drive to Torres's estate took 12 minutes. With every mile, Lena's heart beat faster, her palms growing slick with sweat. She'd spent 6 years avoiding confrontation, making herself small, learning to anticipate Marcus's moods so she could adjust before his anger found a target. Now she was about to walk straight into his line of fire and dare him to pull the trigger. The estate came into view, sprawling grounds surrounded by an iron fence. Police cars blocked the main entrance, their lights painting the night in red and blue. Lena could see officers moving around, talking into radios, securing the perimeter. Adrian pulled over 2 blocks away. You walk from here. Approach from the side street so it looks like you've been wandering. You're confused, scared. You just escaped from inside. Can you sell that? I lived it for 6 years. I think I can manage. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small recording device. Take this. Keep it hidden. If Marcus says anything incriminating, we'll have it on tape. Lena slipped it into her pocket. Her hands were shaking. Hey, Adrian's voice softened. You don't have to do this. We can find another way. There isn't time for another way. There's always time. Not for those girls. Not for your team. She met his eyes. I'm done hiding. I'm done letting other people fight my battles. This ends tonight. Adrian held her gaze for a moment longer. Then he nodded. When you're ready to get out, text me the word clear. We'll be watching. We'll get you out. What if I can't text? Then we come in anyway. 1 hour. If I don't hear from you in 1 hour, we're coming through those doors. Lena climbed out of the car. The February night bit at her exposed skin, cold enough to make her breath visible. She walked toward the estate, forcing herself to stumble slightly, to look disoriented. A police officer spotted her first. Ma'am? Ma'am, stop right there. She stopped, swaying on her feet. Please, please, I need help. 2 officers approached, hands on their weapons but not drawn. What's your name? Lena. Lena Voss. I was trapped. Inside. He kept me locked up and I finally got out, but I don't know where I am and... Recognition flashed across one officer's face. Lena Voss? The missing person? Yes, that's me. Is Marcus here? He can't find me. He'll hurt me again. The officers exchanged glances. Ma'am, you need to calm down. Can you tell us what happened? I was inside. That building. He's been keeping girls there, locked up. I escaped, but there are more. Please, you have to get them out. More officers were gathering now. One of them spoke into his radio. We need a unit to escort a witness. Female, mid-20s, claims she escaped from inside the estate. A voice crackled back, static. Words Lena couldn't make out. Then a car door opened and Marcus stepped out. Lena's entire body went rigid. He looked the same. Perfectly styled hair, expensive suit, that calm expression he wore like armor. The only sign of stress was a tightness around his eyes, a barely perceptible tension in his shoulders. He saw her, and his face transformed. Concern, relief. The mask sliding perfectly into place. Lena, oh, thank God. He started toward her, but an officer held up a hand. Sir, please stay back. That's my fiancée. She's not well. She needs help. We're aware of the situation, Mr. Voss. But right now we need to speak with her separately. Marcus's expression flickered. Just for a second, the mask slipped and Lena saw the rage underneath. Then it was gone, replaced by worried devotion. Of course. Whatever you need. I just want her safe. One of the officers guided Lena toward a patrol car. Let's get you somewhere warm. Can you tell me what you were doing inside that building? He kept me there. After I ran from the house, he found me and brought me here and locked me in a room. Mr. Voss did? Yes, and there are other girls upstairs in the East Wing. You have to get them out. The officer's expression shifted. We're currently conducting a search based on an anonymous tip about suspicious activity. Can you tell me more about these girls? They're prisoners. He traffics them, sells them. I have proof. She pulled the flash drive from her pocket, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it. Everything's on here, financial records, shipping manifests, names, everything. The officer took the drive carefully, like it might explode. Ma'am, these are serious allegations. I know how it sounds, but I'm telling the truth. Please, you have to believe me. Movement at the estate entrance. More officers emerging, and between them, 3 men in handcuffs. Behind them, 6 girls being led out by female officers wrapped in blankets. Lena's chest loosened slightly. Team 4 had gotten out. The distraction had worked. Marcus was watching too, his face carefully neutral. But Lena knew him well enough to read the fury in the set of his jaw, the way his hands clenched at his sides. Lena. His voice carried across the space between them, gentle, pained. What have you done? She found her voice. What I should have done years ago. You're not well. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I know what you are, what you've done. And now everyone else is going to know too. The officer beside her stiffened. Sir, I'm going to need you to step back. But Marcus wasn't looking at the officer. He was looking at Lena, and in his eyes she saw her death. Not now, not here, but someday, somehow, he would make her pay for this. I love you, he said quietly. Everything I've done has been because I love you. The words made her skin crawl. That's not love, that's ownership, and I'm not yours anymore. More cars were arriving, unmarked vehicles, federal plates, men in suits stepping out, badges already visible. Someone had made calls. The weight of what was happening was starting to dawn on the local police. An officer approached Marcus. Mr. Voss, we're going to need you to come with us. We have some questions. Am I being arrested? Not at this time, but we do need to talk to you about some irregularities we found inside the property. Marcus's lawyer face activated, smooth, cooperative. Of course. I'm happy to help in any way I can, though I should mention I'm merely a guest here. This property belongs to Vincent Torres. We're aware. Mr. Torres is currently being detained as well. For just a moment, panic cracked through Marcus's composure. Then it was gone. I'd like to call my attorney. That's your right. They led him toward one of the unmarked cars. As he passed Lena, he stopped. The officer escorting him tried to move him along, but Marcus planted his feet. This isn't over, he said quietly. Only she could hear. You think you've won, but you have no idea what you've started. They'll bury this. My lawyers will tear apart every piece of evidence. And when it all falls apart, when you're standing in front of a judge explaining why you fabricated an elaborate story during a mental breakdown, I'll be there, waiting. The recording device in Lena's pocket was getting all of this, every word. Maybe, she said, or maybe you'll be in a cell, trying to explain to your new friends why you thought you could own people. Either way, I won't be there to see it. I'm done with you. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. His hand moved, quick as a snake grabbing her wrist. You don't get to be done. You're mine. You'll always be... The officer yanked him back. Sir, hands off, now! Marcus released her, but the damage was done. Her wrist throbbed where his fingers had dug in, already bruising, and everyone had seen it. The casual violence, the possessive rage. Get him out of here, one of the federal agents said sharply. Now! They shoved Marcus into the car. He went, but his eyes stayed locked on Lena through the window, burning with promises of retribution. Lena's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the curb, adrenaline crashing through her system. An officer crouched beside her. You okay? No, but I will be. We're going to need a full statement, everything you know. Can you do that? Yes. And this drive, can you walk me through what's on it? Every transaction Marcus Voss made over the last 3 years. Every shell company, every bribed official, every girl he trafficked. Everything. The officer's expression hardened. Okay, let's get you somewhere safe and we'll go through it all. They took her to a police station, different from the one near Marcus's house. This one was downtown, busy even at 3 in the morning. Federal agents were waiting, along with 2 women who introduced themselves as victims' advocates. Lena spent 4 hours telling them everything. She walked them through the spreadsheets, the shipping manifests, the financial records. She explained how Marcus had isolated her, controlled her, threatened her sister. She showed them the bruises, the scars, the evidence written on her own body. By the time the sun came up, she felt hollowed out, empty, but lighter somehow. Like a weight she'd been carrying for 6 years had finally been lifted. One of the federal agents, a woman named Chen, sat across from her with coffee. You did good tonight. This is going to be a major case. We're talking federal charges, possible RICO violations, international trafficking. Marcus Voss isn't walking away from this. What about the girls? The ones you found tonight? They're safe. We've got them in protective custody, working with advocacy groups to find them proper placement. Some will go home, some can't, but they're out. That's because of you. Lena's throat tightened. There are more. The spreadsheet showed hundreds over 3 years. We only got maybe 30 out tonight. I know, and we're going to find them. Every single one we can, but that's going to take time. International cooperation, tracking down leads, building cases in multiple jurisdictions. It's not going to happen overnight. What happens to me now? Agent Chen's expression softened. That depends. You're not under arrest. You're a victim and a witness. But you did break into private property, which makes things complicated. My recommendation is you cooperate fully, provide testimony when needed, and stay available. In exchange, we'll make sure any charges related to tonight's activities disappear. And Emma, my sister? She's safe. We've already sent officers to pick her up from the location Mr. Cade provided. She'll be brought here for her own statement, but she's not in any trouble. The mention of Adrian made Lena sit up straighter. Where is he? Adrian Cade, the man who helped me. Agent Chen's expression became carefully neutral. Mr. Cade is currently not available for comment. What does that mean? It means he left the scene before we could speak with him. We have questions about his involvement, but right now he's not our priority. Our priority is Marcus Voss and his network. Lena's stomach sank. Adrian had disappeared. Of course he had. A man like him couldn't afford to be too closely examined by federal agents. Too many secrets, too many crimes of his own. But he'd kept his word. He'd gotten Emma to safety. He'd helped her when no one else would. He saved my life, Lena said quietly. Whatever else you think about him, remember that. Without him, I'd be dead, and Marcus would still be operating. Chen nodded. Noted. Now, let's talk about witness protection. The next hours blurred together. Paperwork, phone calls. Emma arriving, pale and exhausted, but whole. They held each other for a long time, not speaking, just existing in the same space and breathing the same air. Eventually, they were released into the care of a victims' advocacy organization. A safe house, they called it. Temporary housing until things settled down. It was small and sterile and nothing like the homes they'd known, but it had locks on the doors and windows that actually opened and no one screaming at them for existing wrong. Emma fell asleep almost immediately, curled up on one of the twin beds. Lena sat by the window, watching the sun climb higher, painting the city in shades of gold and gray. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text was short. You did good. Stay safe. Lena stared at the message. Adrian, it had to be. She typed back. Thank you for everything. No response. After 5 minutes, she tried calling the number. Disconnected. He was gone, disappeared back into whatever shadows he lived in. Part of her wanted to find him, to thank him properly, to understand the man who'd pulled her out of hell and asked for nothing in return. But another part understood. Some people were meant to be ghosts. They did their work in the dark and vanished before the light could find them. Adrian Cade was one of those people. Emma stirred, opening her eyes. Lena? I'm here. Is it over? Lena thought about the question. Marcus was arrested, but not convicted. His lawyers were probably already working on bail, on strategies, on ways to discredit her testimony. The trial would take months, maybe years. And even if he went to prison, there would always be a part of her looking over her shoulder, waiting for his revenge. But for the first time in 6 years, she could breathe without permission. She could make decisions without calculating whether they'd trigger his anger. She could exist as herself, messy and imperfect and free. "Yeah," she said. "I think it is." Emma closed her eyes again. Good. The days that followed were a strange kind of limbo. Lawyers visited, asking questions, preparing her testimony. Media started sniffing around the story, though the federal agents kept most details sealed. Lena learned to say no comment and mean it. Marcus made bail. The news showed him leaving the courthouse, surrounded by lawyers, looking tired but defiant. He gave a statement proclaiming his innocence, painting himself as a victim of a disturbed woman's delusions. Some people believed him. Not many, but enough to make Lena's skin crawl. Vincent Torres didn't make bail. Neither did the customs officials or the 3 men running the warehouse operation. The evidence was too strong, the charges too severe. One by one, Marcus's network started to crumble. Richard Crane, Marcus's lawyer, cut a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. He handed over files Marcus had kept for insurance, emails, recordings, evidence of bribes and blackmail stretching back a decade. The case became airtight. 2 months after that night at Torres's estate, Lena sat in a federal courtroom and testified. She told her story to a room full of strangers, her voice shaking but clear. She showed them the evidence. She answered every question, no matter how painful. Marcus sat 20 feet away, watching her with that same cold expression. But she didn't look away, didn't flinch. She'd spent too long being afraid of him. When she finished, the prosecutor thanked her. The judge called a recess. And Lena walked out of that courtroom with her head high. Emma was waiting in the hallway. "How'd it go?" "I told the truth. That's all I could do." "That's all you needed to do." They went back to the safe house, which had started to feel less like a cage and more like a breathing space. Lena had started working again. Freelance bookkeeping under a new name, building something that belonged only to her. Emma had enrolled in online classes, determined to graduate on time despite everything. They were healing, slowly, imperfectly, but healing. The verdict came down on a Tuesday afternoon, guilty on all counts. Marcus Voss was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole for 20. Lena watched the news coverage with Emma, neither of them speaking. When it was over, Emma turned off the TV. "Do you feel better?" she asked. Lena considered the question. "I feel different. Not better, exactly. Not worse, just different." "Different how?" "Like I'm not carrying him around anymore, like I'm just carrying myself. And that's lighter." Emma leaned against her sister. "We should do something. Celebrate, maybe." "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. Something normal. Something that has nothing to do with any of this." "Ice cream?" Emma laughed. "Yeah, ice cream sounds perfect." They walked to a shop 3 blocks away, the same one they used to sneak out to when they were kids. It was still there, miraculously unchanged. They ordered waffle cones and sat on a bench outside, watching people pass by. Normal people, living normal lives. And for the first time in a long time, Lena felt like maybe she could be one of them. "Do you think about him?" Emma asked quietly. "Adrian. Sometimes." "Do you think he's okay?" "I think he's exactly what he's always been. Dangerous and broken, and trying to do better in the only way he knows how." "You miss him." It wasn't a question. Lena didn't deny it. "He saved us," she said, "but he couldn't stay. Some people are built for rescue missions, not for what comes after." "What comes after?" "This. Rebuilding. Learning to live without looking over your shoulder. That's harder than fighting. Adrian knows how to fight. I'm not sure he knows how to do the rest." Emma was quiet for a moment. "Do you think we'll ever see him again?" "I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe he's already moved on to the next person who needs saving." Lena finished her ice cream, the sweetness cutting through the weight of the conversation. "But I hope he's okay. Wherever he is. I hope he finds whatever he's looking for." Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another short message. "Heard about the verdict. Congratulations. You earned it." Lena smiled despite herself. She typed back quickly. "Thank you. For everything. Stay safe. This time there was a response. You too, both of you. And then, like before, the number went dead. Emma saw her expression. Was that him? Yeah. What did he say? To stay safe. That's it? That's enough. They walked home as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The safe house was waiting, and beyond that, an uncertain future. But for the first time, uncertainty felt like possibility instead of threat. Lena didn't know what came next, didn't know if they'd stay in this city or move somewhere new, didn't know if the nightmares would ever fully stop or if she'd ever feel completely safe again. But she knew they were free, she knew Emma was safe, and she knew that whatever came next, they'd face it together. That was enough. For now, that was more than enough. 6 months after the verdict, Lena stood in the kitchen of an apartment that actually belonged to her. Not Marcus's place with his rules and his carefully controlled temperature. Not the safe house with its institutional smell and temporary walls. This was hers. A one-bedroom in a neighborhood she'd chosen, with a lease she'd signed, paid for with money she'd earned. Emma was at the table, laptop open, working through college applications. She'd graduated high school 2 weeks ago, virtual ceremony and all, and was already planning her escape to somewhere new. What about this one? Emma turned the screen. Art program in Portland, good reviews, far enough away that no one knows the story. Lena looked at the web page. You want to run that far? Don't you? Sometimes, but running doesn't fix anything, just moves the problems to a different zip code. Emma closed the laptop. I don't want to run. I just want to start over. Somewhere I'm not Emma Voss, sister of the woman who took down a trafficking ring. Just Emma, regular student, regular life. There's no such thing as regular. Not for us, not anymore. I know, but I can pretend, right? At least for a little while. Lena sat down across from her. You can do whatever you want. That's the point. You're free now. So if Portland feels right, go to Portland. If you want to stay here, stay. Just make sure it's what you want, not what you think you should want. Emma picked at the edge of her notebook. What about you? What do you want? It was a question Lena had been avoiding for months. What did she want? For so long, her wants had been simple. Survive the day. Keep Emma safe. Don't make Marcus angry. Now those goals were gone, and the space they left behind felt enormous and terrifying. I want to help, she said finally. The girls we got out that night, some of them are still struggling. No family to go back to, no support system. I've been thinking about starting something. A foundation, maybe. Help trafficking survivors rebuild their lives. Job training, housing assistance, therapy, actual support instead of just shuffling them through the system. Emma's expression shifted. That's a lot. I know. You'd have to relive everything. Every grant application, every interview, every time you explain what the foundation does, you'll be telling your story over and over. Yeah, I will. And you're okay with that? Lena thought about it. Was she okay with it? Probably not. But okay wasn't the point anymore. I'm tired of what happened to me only mattering as trauma. I want it to matter as something that helps other people. That's not okay, but it's purpose. And right now, I'll take purpose over okay. Emma reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Then do it. I'll help however I can. Before Lena could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. Her chest tightened reflexively. 6 years of conditioning didn't disappear in 6 months, but she answered anyway. Lena Voss? Speaking. This is Sarah Chen, FBI. We met the night of the Torres estate operation. I remember. Something wrong? Not wrong exactly, but we need to talk. Can you come down to the field office today if possible? Lena's mind raced through possibilities. Had something happened with Marcus's case? Was there an appeal? What's this about? I'd rather discuss it in person. It's good news, I promise. Or at least, it's not bad news. An hour later, Lena sat in Agent Chen's office, a space that was somehow both sterile and cluttered. Files everywhere, coffee cups in various stages of abandonment, a plant on the windowsill that looked like it was holding on through sheer spite. Chen slid a folder across the desk. We've been working on something. Thought you should know about it. Lena opened the folder. Inside were photographs. Girls, women, some she recognized from the spreadsheet Marcus had kept. Some she didn't. We've recovered 83 victims over the past 6 months, Chen said. International cooperation, tracking leads from the evidence you provided. 83 people who are free because you had the courage to come forward. Lena's throat tightened. 83. And counting, we're still working on it. Some trails are cold, some are complicated by international jurisdiction issues. But we're not stopping. This is a career-making case for a lot of people. They want to see it through. What about the ones we can't find? Chen's expression sobered. Some we won't. That's the reality. Some are dead. Some are too deep in the system. Some don't want to be found because they've built new lives and don't want to revisit the trauma. We save who we can save. Lena flipped through the photos. Young faces. Scared faces. But alive. Why are you showing me this? Because you should know the impact you've had. And because several of these women asked about you, wanted to know if they could meet you, say thank you. They don't need to thank me. Maybe not, but they want to. I've got contact information for the ones who are willing, if you're interested. Lena stared at the folder. Meeting them felt overwhelming. What would she even say? Sorry you went through hell, glad I could help after failing to stop it sooner. But then she thought about the foundation idea, about building something that mattered. Maybe this was where it started, not with grants and paperwork, but with connections, with understanding what these women actually needed. Okay, she said, I'll meet them. The first meeting happened 2 weeks later. A coffee shop, neutral territory, public enough to feel safe. The woman's name was Maria. 22 years old, originally from the Philippines, trafficked through one of Marcus's fake employment agencies 3 years ago. She sat across from Lena, hands wrapped around a cup of tea she wasn't drinking. I don't know what to say, Maria admitted. I practiced this whole speech about how grateful I am, but now I'm here, and it feels stupid. You don't have to say anything, Lena told her. I'm just glad you're okay. I'm not okay. I don't know if I'll ever be okay, but I'm alive. I'm free. That's more than I had 6 months ago. What are you doing now, if you don't mind me asking? Living with a host family through a refugee resettlement program, trying to learn better English, working part-time at a grocery store. It's not much, but it's mine, you know. No one owns my time. No one tells me where to go or what to do. Lena understood that feeling, the strange freedom of being in control of your own minutes. I want to go back to school, Maria continued. I was studying nursing before everything happened. I don't know if I can do that here with my immigration status being complicated, but maybe someday. An idea clicked into place in Lena's mind. What if there was a program? Something that helped survivors get education, job training, legal assistance. Would that be useful? Maria's eyes widened. Are you serious? That would be everything. Most of us, we want to rebuild. We want to work, to study, to have normal lives. But there are so many barriers. Trauma, sure, but also practical things. We don't have papers or money or anyone who will give us a chance. What if I could help with that? You'd do that? I'm thinking about it. I can't promise anything yet, but I want to try. They talked for another hour. Maria shared her story, the details that hadn't made it into police reports. The small humiliations, the ways hope died and was resurrected and died again. The moment she'd been rescued, thinking it was another trick, another way to hurt her. By the time they said goodbye, Lena had pages of notes. Not about trauma, Maria's therapist could handle that, but about practical needs. Housing that felt safe. Employers who understood that some days were harder than others. Education programs flexible enough to work around therapy appointments and court dates. She met with 6 more survivors over the next month. Each conversation added layers to her understanding. The foundation started taking shape in her mind. Not a charity that did things for people, but one that gave them tools to rebuild on their own terms. Emma helped with research, finding similar organizations, learning what worked and what didn't. They spent evenings at the kitchen table, building spreadsheets, drafting mission statements, arguing over details. You need a name, Emma said one night. Something that doesn't sound like pity. Something that sounds like action. What about Phoenix, Lena suggested. Rising from ashes and all that. Too obvious. Every nonprofit uses Phoenix. We need something better. They debated for an hour before Emma looked up from her laptop. Sanctuary project, simple, clear. It's about creating safe spaces for people to rebuild. Lena tested it out. Sanctuary project. It felt right, solid, hopeful without being naive. Okay, sanctuary project it is. The next challenge was funding. Lena had some money saved, and the advance from the book deal she'd reluctantly signed helped. A publisher wanted her story. She'd resisted at first, hating the idea of commodifying trauma, but her lawyer pointed out that the book could do two things: fund the foundation and put the truth out there in a way Marcus's lawyers couldn't spin. She wrote it over 3 months. Every word felt like pulling teeth, but she wrote it anyway. Not a story about victimhood, but about choice. About the moment she decided she'd rather die free than live controlled. About Emma's courage. About Adrian's unexpected intervention and the price of silence. The book came out in August. It climbed bestseller lists, sparked think pieces, became the kind of cultural moment Lena had never wanted but couldn't avoid. She did interviews, hating every second, answering the same questions over and over. Yes, she was scared. Yes, she had nightmares. No, she didn't feel like a hero. Yes, she'd do it again. The foundation launched in September. Small at first. One employee, a social worker named Diana who'd worked with trafficking survivors for a decade. One office donated by a landlord who'd read the book. One program, emergency housing assistance for women exiting exploitation. Within 3 months, they'd helped 12 people. By the end of the year, 37. Emma left for Portland in January, tearful but determined. Lena drove her to the airport, helped her check bags that contained everything she owned. "You're going to be great," Lena said, hugging her sister tight. "I'm terrified." "Good. That means it matters." "What if I fail?" "Then you fail, and you get up and try something else. That's what we do now. We try. We fail. We keep going." Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Will you visit?" "As often as you want me to." "What about the foundation?" "Diana can handle things for a few days, and I need to learn to let go anyway. Can't run everything myself forever." They said goodbye at security. Lena watched Emma disappear into the crowd of travelers, feeling proud and sad and hopeful all at once. Her sister was going to be okay. Different than before, scarred but strong, but okay. The foundation grew. By the second year, they had 5 employees and 3 programs: housing assistance, job training, legal aid. By the third year, they'd helped over 200 survivors. Success stories started trickling in. A woman who'd gotten her nursing license. Another who'd opened a small business. A teenager who'd made it to college. Not everyone made it. Some women relapsed into old patterns. Some disappeared. Some succumbed to the trauma in ways no amount of support could prevent. Those failures haunted Lena, but Diana reminded her that perfection wasn't the goal. "We can't save everyone," Diana said one particularly hard day after learning that one of their clients had overdosed. "We can only create the conditions where saving themselves becomes possible. The rest is up to them." It was a hard truth. Lena hated it, but she learned to live with it. 3 years after Marcus's conviction, Lena got a call from her lawyer. Marcus wanted to see her. Prison visit. He had something to say. "You don't have to go," the lawyer said. "You owe him nothing." Lena thought about it for a week. Part of her wanted to refuse on principle. Let him rot without closure. But another part was curious. What could he possibly have to say after all this time? She went. The prison was exactly as depressing as she'd imagined. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of industrial cleaner failing to mask something worse underneath. Marcus sat behind glass, wearing an orange jumpsuit that made his skin look sallow. He'd aged. Hair thinner, face gaunt. The polish he'd always maintained completely gone. Lena picked up the phone. Marcus did the same. "You came," he said. "Don't make me regret it." "What do you want?" "To apologize." She almost hung up. "I don't believe you." "I know, but I'm saying it anyway. I'm sorry for everything I did to you, for what I put you through, for the lives I destroyed." His voice was flat. Not emotional, just stating facts. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But you should know that I understand what I did was wrong." "Did your therapist tell you to say this?" A bitter smile. "Something like that. Part of the rehabilitation program. Take accountability, show remorse. Maybe shave a few years off for good behavior. So it's not real. I don't know what's real anymore. I've had 3 years to think about nothing but what I did. Some days I feel remorse. Some days I just feel angry that I got caught. Some days I don't feel anything at all. He leaned closer to the glass. But I know this. You were right to leave. You were right to destroy everything. I was a monster. Maybe I still am, but at least now I'm a caged monster. Lena studied his face, looking for the man she'd feared for so long. He was still there, buried under exhaustion and defeat, but diminished, no longer looming. Just a man who'd made terrible choices and was living with the consequences. I don't forgive you, she said. I don't think I ever will. I'm not asking you to. Then why did you want to see me? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I wanted to see if you were okay, if you survived me. I did. More than survived. I'm rebuilding everything you tried to destroy. The foundation. I heard about it. Some of the guys in here, they talk about the news. Your name came up. Does that bother you? It should, but mostly I'm just tired. He set the phone down for a moment, running a hand over his face. When he picked it back up, he looked older than his years. I'm going to die in here. I know that. And maybe that's justice. Maybe that's what I deserve. But before I do, I wanted you to know that you won. Completely. Utterly. You took everything from me and built something better from the ashes. That's more victory than most people get. Lena felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no closure, just emptiness where he used to live in her head. I should go, she said. Wait, one more thing. What? Emma, is she okay? The question surprised her. Why do you care? I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's just curiosity, but I did live with her for 2 years. She was a good kid. I hope I didn't ruin that. She's in college, studying art. She's happy. Or at least she's getting there. Marcus nodded slowly. Good. That's good. Lena hung up the phone, stood, walked away without looking back. Outside, the air felt cleaner. She drove back to the city, back to the foundation office, back to the work that mattered. Diana was waiting with updates. A new donor wanted to fund a scholarship program. 3 women had completed job training and found employment. One was asking about starting her own business. How'd it go? Diana asked carefully. She knew where Lena had been. It went. He's just a man, broken and trapped and not worth thinking about. Good. Then let's talk about the scholarship program. I think we can help at least 10 women next year if the funding comes through. They worked until evening, planning and strategizing and building something that mattered. When Lena finally left the office, the sun was setting, painting the city in gold and shadow. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. After all this time, she still got them occasionally. How'd the meeting go? Adrian, she hadn't heard from him in almost a year. About how you'd expect. He apologized. I didn't accept. We both moved on. You okay? Yeah, I am. Actually okay this time, not just saying it. Good. You deserve that. Lena hesitated, then typed. Where are you? Around, working, staying out of trouble mostly. The foundation's doing well. We could use someone with your skills. Legitimate work this time. A long pause. Then, I appreciate the offer, but that's not who I am. You build things. I tear them down. Better to stick with what I know. You saved me. That was building something. That was a one-time thing. An anomaly. Don't make me into something I'm not. Lena smiled despite herself. You're impossible. I've been told that. Listen, I have to go, but I'm glad you're okay. You and Emma both. You did good, Lena. Better than good. So did you. We'll agree to disagree. Stay safe. The number went dead, like always. Lena put her phone away and walked home. Her apartment was waiting, along with lesson plans for a workshop she was teaching next week. Job interview skills for survivors. How to explain gaps in employment without reliving trauma. How to present yourself as capable when the world keeps seeing you as broken. She worked on the materials until midnight, fine-tuning, perfecting. This mattered. Every woman who walked into that workshop deserved the best she could give. The next morning, Emma called. I got the internship. Lena's exhaustion evaporated. The gallery one? Yes, they picked me out of like 200 applicants. I start in 2 weeks. Emma, that's incredible. I know, I can't believe it. I mean, I can believe it because I worked my butt off on that application, but still, it feels surreal. They talked for an hour, Emma bubbling with excitement about the gallery, the artists she'd work with, the opportunities this could lead to. By the time they hung up, Lena felt lighter than she had in months. This was it. This was what winning looked like. Not a single moment of triumph, but 1,000 small victories. Emma's internship, the foundation helping its 200th client, Marcus aging in a cell while they built lives worth living. 5 years after that night in the alley, Lena stood on a stage at a fundraising gala for the Sanctuary Project. 200 people filled the hotel ballroom, donors and survivors and advocates. The foundation now had 12 employees, 6 programs, and had helped over 500 women rebuild their lives. Emma sat in the front row, home for the weekend, beaming with pride. Lena stepped up to the microphone. Public speaking still made her nervous, but she'd learned to push through it. 5 years ago, I was dying in an alley, she began. Not just physically, though that was happening too. I was dying inside, convinced that the life I was living was the only life available to me, that fear and control were just the price of survival. The room was silent. She could see faces in the crowd, some she recognized, survivors she'd worked with, donors who'd believed in the mission, strangers who'd read her book and wanted to help. Someone found me that night, pulled me out, gave me a chance to choose differently. This foundation exists because I learned something in those moments. Everyone deserves that chance. Everyone deserves someone who sees them, who believes they're worth saving, who helps them find the strength they already have. She paused, gathering her thoughts. We can't save everyone. Some people aren't ready. Some people have been hurt too deeply. Some people just need different help than we can provide. But for those we can reach, for those who are ready to fight their way back, we can give them tools, resources, a community that understands, and sometimes that's enough to tip the scales from surviving to thriving. Applause started. Lena waited for it to quiet. Tonight, we're raising money to expand. We want to open a second location. We want to add mental health services. We want to create a scholarship fund for survivors pursuing education. These things cost money, but more importantly, they cost belief. Belief that people can change, that trauma doesn't have to be a life sentence, that the worst thing that happened to you doesn't have to define everything that comes after. She looked at Emma, at Diana, at the faces of women she'd helped who were now helping others. I believe that. I have to. Because if I don't believe people can rebuild after being broken, then everything I went through was pointless. And I refuse to accept that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for believing too. And let's build something that matters. The applause was thunderous this time. Lena stepped away from the microphone, her hands shaking but her heart steady. Emma met her at the bottom of the stairs. That was perfect. I forgot half of what I meant to say. Doesn't matter. It was real. That's what mattered. They were swarmed by people wanting to talk, to donate, to share their own stories. Lena smiled and nodded and thanked them, playing the role she'd learned to play. But later, when the gala was over and the ballroom was empty, she stood by the window and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Adrian was doing whatever Adrian did. Somewhere, Marcus was rotting in a cell. Somewhere, women were trapped in situations that felt impossible to escape. But also somewhere, women who'd escaped were building new lives, learning to sleep without nightmares, falling in love, starting careers being more than what had been done to them. Emma came up beside her. You okay? Yeah, I really am. What are you thinking about? Lena smiled. That we made it. Against all odds, against everything, we made it. And now we're helping other people make it too. Is that enough? Is it enough to make up for everything? I don't think anything makes up for what happened, but it gives it meaning, and meaning is better than nothing. They stood together in comfortable silence, two sisters who'd survived hell and come out the other side scarred but unbroken. Outside, the city lights glittered like promises. Tomorrow, there would be more work, more women who needed help, more battles to fight, more failures to process, and successes to celebrate. But tonight, standing in the quiet aftermath of victory, Lena allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of pain, She'd learned that didn't exist, but the presence of purpose, the knowledge that she was building something real, that her life meant something beyond the trauma that had shaped it. The foundation would continue to grow. Emma would finish college and build a career she loved. Marcus would age and die forgotten, and Lena would keep doing the work, one woman at a time, proving that broken things could be rebuilt into something stronger than before. That was enough. That was everything. She turned away from the window and linked her arm through Emma's. "Come on," she said. "Let's go home." And they did.